Good morning. Hope all of you guys had a great weekend. So as always, on Monday, let's go through higher timeframes, what we are going to look for, what already happened, and so on. So we can see that on the quarterly timeframe, what we have here on the right side is 28 days. So obviously it's June already, May monthly candle closed. So again, I think you guys remember from the previous video breakdown, what we talked about is that when price started to retrace, reacting to this buy side liquidity sweep and this bearish monthly, quarterly time frame overlapping BPR already here. What we wanted to see was price react lower. And after that, what we wanted to see happen is price start pushing back, building this body of this candle right here. I'm ideally for the body of this candle to close around here or here. Again, as we don't want for price to retrace all the way and close like this, because that would be not the most ideal type of a sign. Price would be showing pressure on the downside, and we don't want to see that. So again, ideally, we want to see June now either go a little bit sideways or continue slowly pushing higher. I'm ideally close the body of this candle, of this quarterly candle, from this area to anywhere on the upside, so that we don't see a massive wick left as this candle closes. So now dropping to the monthly time frame, what we have here is a very nice, neat bullish vision. Same what we had before. Of course, this bullish fair value gap that price rejected before expanding to the upside. It took out this buy side liquidity pool, ran into the BPR, started retracing. Now notice what we have from now on as this May candle closed right here. What we have is a DPR, which is now fully confirmed, obviously. So that is a great sign for us as well. That is a sign of momentum. That is a sign of bullish pressure. It can mark this fair value gap inside of this area too. So from this point, what we want to see happen in June is price just continue pushing higher, building body of this candle over here, taking out our main buy side liquidity pool, which is this high right here, April's buy side liquidity. So that's the ideal type of situation. Even though we have all of this bullish imbalance left right here below of this monthly candle over here, it doesn't necessarily mean the price needs to sweep May sell side liquidity into this imbalance before continuing higher. Everything's looking 100% set and ready to go to just expand higher and take out our main buy side liquidity pool right here. From that point, once that happens, obviously it can top out and then retrace into this area to then continue building towards this buy side liquidity right here, which, as I think you guys remember, will act as our next buy side liquidity target. Guys, draw on liquidity. Talking about the bigger vision, bigger picture, notice that we have pretty much equal highs here. If we are talking about bodies of candles, only VIX right here, height to the upside right here, but body is closed at the same level. So what we have here is a massive buy side liquidity pool. But as price already did a massive expansion right here, which as you guys can see is around 1,500 pips. So very one-sided move. Once price takes out this buy side liquidity, April's buy side liquidity, again, there's a high chance that price will top out, then pull back into this area right here, leave another low, and continue building to the upside. From there, we will start looking for long opportunities again towards this massive buy side liquidity pool right here. So now let's drop not straight to the weekly time frame, but let's see what's happening on 2 weeks candle. So now what we have here on 2-week time frame, I know that we don't usually use that. I just wanted to show you how everything is looking right here. If we go to the weekly time frame, you can see that we don't have full clarity. Even though it's nicely expanding to the upside, we have our main magnet area right here, main drawn liquidity. From the weekly perspective, still what we are seeing is price just crawling to the upside, not giving us 100% certainty. But what comes to the weekly time frame, I really like how it's looking. It's looking very, very bullish. If we talk about this most recent imbalance point right here, from the 2-week perspective, notice how price nicely dipped into it, rejected the consequent encroachment. And another thing that I like the most about this current development is notice that this candle, when this candle opened right here, notice that price after the open created this wick. In other words, gave a protraction, gave a manipulation right here, forming this wick first before expanding to the upside. So again, this candle closed, this one opened, it started pushing to the downside, started protracting, and then it's now pushing to the upside right here. Closing above this candle, we have nice 3 taps into this bullish imbalance right here, and price is now flying to the upside. So from this perspective, from 2 weeks time frame, it's looking very unlikely for price to just fall down again to the downside. taking out the sell side liquidity. And obviously, as I always mention, anything can happen, but what we want to do is always be on the right side of probabilities, stack as much probabilities on our side as possible, and follow the overall top-down vision. So as we have this buy side liquidity pool hanging right above, price did retrace and reject quite a bit of bullish pre-race. We have everything in line for price to just fly towards our main management area right here. How this 2-week time frame is looking right here is just a nice additional confluence factor, something that we can't really fully see from the weekly perspective right here, which is again looking kind of good. But to be completely honest, I'm never a huge fan of those situations when price don't leave at least a small wick before expanding. So from weekly perspective, I don't really like this candle at the moment. Ideally, what we wanted to see, if let's say we fully ignored this candle right here, ideally as this candle right here, this one, it's closed at this price. Ideally, what we wanted to see on this new weekly candle was price after the open dropping a little bit lower right here, and then the next phase would be price rising back up towards the open and then starting to build body of the candle right here, leaving this wick. But now I think you guys can see that we don't have any wick on this downside right here. So this is in some cases when price just leaves a wick and then falls against us for a bit before it continues with our main direction again. So this is something that we must keep in mind. This is something that you must be careful of, especially be careful about this point when price reaches into the previous week's buy side liquidity. Right now we are still moving in the range. We're still moving inside of last week's range right here. So that's obviously not something that we want to ignore, and especially when price takes out the high, the previous week's high, we will want to keep close eyes and close attention of how this candle will be forming from that point, because we don't want to fall into the situation when price just starts expanding to the downside, leaving a wick instead of this body, and start rushing to the downside again for some of the sell side liquidity pools below. So this is something again that we want to be aware of. Now dropping to the daily time frame. From the daily time frame, I would say everything's looking nice. Again, ideally, we would have wanted to see price leave a wick right here before expanding, but is what this price expanded to the upside right away. You still have a pretty clear overall picture. Price ran some sell side liquidity over here. We have some neat bullish P race inside of this area. On the lower time frames, what we have above, I think you guys can see that price swept our buy side liquidity pool number 1. Then what we have hanging above is buy side liquidity pool number 2 and the main drawn liquidity. So what we will focus on again is this buy side liquidity here, the midpoint from this buy side liquidity pool to the main drawn liquidity, which will be roughly around 1.14997 right here. So I think target points are pretty clear. This buy side liquidity pool, I think, should get taken out today. We even have the smaller buy side liquidity pool right below. That's hardly visible from the daily time frame. But what we have overall is this very strong outside candle that's pointing to the upside, and that's ideal. That's perfect from the daily perspective. The more candles and momentum during expansions that we have like this, running sell side liquidity into bullish Peter race, expanding to the upside, the more we have structures and candles like that, the better. So all of the buy side liquidity pools, here I'm talking about this buy side liquidity pool right here and this buy side liquidity pool, they are on the scope right now. And I think that price will take them out before I even manage to upload this video. But from the lower time frames, I think you guys already saw that we don't have much for us to enter, at least right now, because even though everything is looking just perfectly, we can remove this quarterly BPR from our hourly lower time frame vision. So what we have right now is just perfect from all angles, because this one is 31st lesson low, this one is 31st lesson low. Here price is showing that bullish order flow is still in play right here. So what we have right here is a very nice and clear 8-hour bullish order flow. I remember that we are still moving inside of this buy model right here. So this is the separation line. What we have right here is sell side of the curve, and what we have right here is buy side of the curve. Price bottomed out, took out this high right here, shifted into bullish order flow, now left a couple 31st lesson lows. So this is absolutely perfect. Price is moving away from bullish Peter race. So to quickly draw them in, you can see that price rejected this bullish imbalance and BPR in this area right here after running quite a bit of sell side liquidity. And what we have was price climbing all the way towards this buy side liquidity pool. It ran B's equal highs right here, but then stopped very close from this buy side liquidity pool, from this lower resistance buy side liquidity pool. So that was already a signal that this is a potential fake high. We always like to see that. Price retraced lower, ran some sell side liquidity, began into bullish Peter race, into bullish imbalance right here, and expanded to the upside. So this is what we looked for. As you can see, price is nicely pushing to the upside. If we take these two consecutive downside candles as one order block, notice that price came very close to the open of this order block, but it did reject the high of it right here. So now what we want to see is price to keep on trading and pushing away from this low right here. So what I'm talking about ideally is price after taking the buy side liquidity, retracing towards these bullish PD rays and continuing building to the upside from your, again, first buy side liquidity that we have on the scope is this level right here. Second buy side liquidity, and this is the main draw on liquidity right here. The original consolidation of the daily / 8-hour market maker buy model right here. If we drop even lower to the 4-hour time frame, what we have here I think is pretty clean, but again, the sad part is that we couldn't trade all of this right here because it happened during Friday, Sunday, and now on Monday, it's just blasting to the upside right here. To take out all of this around buy side liquidity, I think we will get this buy side liquidity pulled at it as well. But yeah, is what it is. What we will look for is either price now retracing, and we will look for continuations, or price taking out and sweeping this buy side liquidity, then retracing towards our bullish PD raise. Notice that we have this neat BPR right here on the 4-hour time frame. So that would be a pretty good point for us to wait for price to retrace, bottom out. Again, we would want to see price actually bottom out, and what we would look for is 15-minute market maker buy model fractals to continue pushing to the upside. So again, price continues, retraces, gives up my model fractal on the 15-minute again, and this is where we look for our trades inside of these areas right here to trade towards our main draw on liquidity main limit area. So that's our bigger plan for this week. Everything's lining up perfectly, and we will talk a bit later.